Hey, Ian, welcome to Crosswalk Talk. Thanks for joining me.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
We're talking to Ann Wilson, who has a new album, Rebel, comes out April the 19th. It includes collaborations with Lainey Wilson, Chris Tomlin, and Jordan Davis. This is your second studio album. Of course, your first album, which was really popular, had a country flair, but it seems you're really diving into the deep end of the pool, I guess, into the country genre here with a focus on faith, of course. I loved it. I loved it. Um, I'm just curious, and how did you fall in love with country music? How did you get in this genre in the first place?
Yeah, well, I grew up on both like genres, Christian and country. My brother would always have country music on in the car, and my and dad would always have Christian.
Mhm.
So I just grew up with both. But the love of country music, I think it also came from growing up in Kentucky and bluegrass music being like a really big thing. Growing up in Kentucky, there's always bluegrass music, and like you would go to the local county fair and there'd be like the most phenomenal bluegrass band playing. And so like we were steeped in country music growing up there in Kentucky. And so it really like I think my love just came from that and then just my brother loving it and just me kind of always being surrounded by it, I guess. And then
Yeah,
as we got into this next record, it just felt like it was the right next, it was naturally kind of flowing out of me and it was the right next move. So
I think it's the right move. And you've received some attention this year already for your country prowess, I guess. You received and a nomination, a CMT Music Award nomination for Breakthrough Female Video of the Year. That's not a country music award. That's a mainstream music country award nomination. What did that mean for you to get that nomination? This is not a Dove Award or a K-Love Award. This is a CMT Music Award nomination. Did that mean something special?
yeah, it did. I mean, every award I ever get nominated for is I'm so grateful and honored. I'm like, I still can't believe I get to do this. But yeah, it was really cool. I think just to get recognized for, the things that we had been doing and the hard work that went into the video. And it was 3 a.m. when we were filming that last scene with the water. And it was so cold. It was 30 degrees outside and the water was like freezing. And it was like, I got so sick from that video. And it was like, it was miserable at the moment. But then now that it's been nominated,
Yes.
worth it now. And but yeah, it did. It meant a lot to me just to be recognized in the country space. Not that, being recognized in the Christian is less than. It's just like it was just cool. It's like, wow, okay, this might be working and this that it was a good little
Yeah.
reminder.
Yeah, it's not to lessen anything else. It's just that another space is recognizing your art, and I think that's awesome. And
Yeah.
CMT named you to its 2024 class of the CMT Next Women of Country, which is awesome. So, your fans are wanting to know: is this a country album? Is this a Christian album? What is it? Is it both? Help us out here.
I think a lot of people are labeling it as country, and I would label it as just Ann Wilson. Like I don't think songs fit in certain genres. I think some songs will be on Christian playlists and some will be on country, and then some will maybe just be in the middle. Like maybe I don't, it's like, I don't know. It's such an interesting, this album was very interesting because it really does blend the two together in one. And I like to just say it's just me because calling it a Christian album is totally fair, but there are some songs on there that don't necessarily talk about my faith and that talk about other things. But then calling it a full country album would not be accurate either because in the eyes of like the genre, because my faith is the biggest thing in there. And there's some songs on there that are really faith-based. So I
Yeah.
feel like it's just kind of like Ann Wilson and it's just like sits in its own category almost of blending the two genres together. And so yeah, somewhere in between those two.
But you're not leaving country music. I mean, that's still kind of your main. That's where your roots are. Would
Yeah,
you agree with that? Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And of course, country has always had its roots in the church, and so this is not something that's we're not necessarily blending genres here. We're kind of going back to the roots of it. What were your goals with this album? Like I told you before we started this, I really enjoyed listening to it. It's amazing. What were your goals with this album?
I would say, main goals was just to be able to write another record that could top the first. That was a lot of pressure. Everybody told me, okay, your sophomore album is going to be the hardest album you ever write because it's going to have to top the first. And I just kind of got rid of that. I was like, you know what? No, like I want freedom writing this record. I don't want that hanging over my head. So I really like worked hard to kind of rid myself of that and just remind myself that like Yeah, it can be the hardest album, but it also could be the most life-giving one. And that's what it ended up being. So writing this album was really freeing. And I think just ultimately, I hope that people find inspiration out of it, that they find love and joy and peace and the Holy Spirit, that they feel Jesus in the songs, they feel his presence, and that they can walk away and go, you know what, like maybe there's a seed planted in my life. Maybe I should consider faith, maybe for the first time ever. That's always what I want my music to be pointing back to.
Amen. Let's talk about the title track, the song Rebel. It sounded like every instrument in the studio was playing on that one song. I just loved it. It's one of the better country songs I've heard in a while. It has a powerful faith centric message. Tell us the story behind Rebel.
That was a really fun song for me to write. I had this moment of my career just feeling I was too country for Christian. Like my songs were just not being played on Christian radio because they were too country, but yet the message was Christian. And it honestly fired me up to go, you know what? I'm not going to please Christian music, and I'm not going to try to change who I am to please country music. I'm going to just be authentically who I am. And so it fired me up to go write a song about what it means to be a rebel, which was that side of it. But then it was also just the side of like having faith in the world that we live in today, like makes me feel a little bit like a rebel. Like it's like when we have faith, we're the odd ones out, but yet the world can go talk about all these horrible subjects and it's welcomed and invited. But when we talk about our faith, it's like somehow we're like the ones in the wrong. And it just felt like an inspiration to go, you know, I'm going to write a record that is so seeped in like faith. And like, that's what's going to, you know, um, hopefully like inspire people and make a statement. And so that was really the inspiration behind the song of just, but also like being a follower of Jesus in the world that we live in today makes you a rebel because Jesus was a rebel. And so if you're trying to be like him, you're going to end up being a rebel. And so all those different things came into one big idea, and we wrote the song. So
I loved it. I encourage people to check that one out. I think it's the first song on the album. So if you're listening to it, you're going to dive into it first. Songs about whiskey. When I saw the title tracks, I thought, okay, what is this? And it's a great whimsical song. It talks about pretty much how so much of country music is about Jack Daniels and so on and so forth. But you kind of put a spin on it. So tell me about the song titled "Songs About Whiskey."
yeah, so that I was like, how can we write a song? How can Ann Wilson write a song about whiskey? Can it be and you know, I've had some fans reach out already and be like, okay, now that song title worries me. Like, have you gone off the deep end? Have you left God behind? And I'm like, just wait and listen to the song and then come back to me. And I've performed it at a bar and I've performed it at a church, and it's the same response in both scenarios. And I love it. It's like people love the song. It's not about like, it's not about what I believe about either side. It's just that I don't write songs about it. And it's like the beautiful kind of message of like, just something, it's like something fresh. It's like, what do I write songs about? It's the things that I love. And it's in my life, it's my faith and my family. And like, I think it's a fresh perspective on a song about whiskey that really hasn't ever been written before. It's so fun, you know, it's just got such a fun thing to it. But
I was laughing as I was listening to it. I had some concern as well because I thought, okay, what is Ann Wilson doing here? But then when I got into it, I was just laughing and just inspired by it because the chorus, the main part of it is I sing songs about Jesus instead of songs about whiskey. And of course, in the song, it sounds a lot better than I just said it. But it was just it's an amazing song. What style of country do you like the most? Do you like you have the up-tempo version where, like I said, every instrument's playing and the drummer's going wild, or do you like a little more slow down stuff?
I like all country music, but I love bluegrass music. And then I love
Okay.
like Wallen. So it's like Johnny Cash, Dolly Parton, Morgan Wallen, bluegrass, all in one. And some of the songs, like Out of Bluegrass, is a great example of that, has a lot of bluegrass instrumentation on it. And it's got like fiddle, and it's just a little bit more like slow and true country. And then you have songs like Rebel that are all over the place. And then songs like Sinner's Prayer that are more pop country. And so it's like each song is different. And that was the goal, is like kind of showing different parts of my artistic self in terms of the production, not just the songwriting, but the production. So it's a blend of, I feel like it's a blend of all different kinds of country on the album.
I
Yeah.
agree. There's a song in there. Forgive me if I'm butchering the title. Is it "Praying Woman"? Is
Yes.
that the? Did you have anybody in mind when you were, writing that or singing that?
Yeah, so I wrote that with Lainey Wilson, and we both had our moms in mind when we wrote that song. We talked about like how we remembered like being kids and our moms would like always be praying for us or their husbands or things that they just wanted to see in life, and like the power of a praying woman and how powerful it really is. And so it was so fun to write that song with her and to get to experience that. And then now both of our moms have heard it obviously, and it was so cute seeing their reaction, just them crying their eyes out, like, just it was just a sweet moment to get to kind of show that song to them because we wrote it for them. So it was really
That's awesome. That's
yeah.
awesome. 16 songs, I believe. Is that right on this album? That's a lot. I don't know what the average number is on an album nowadays, but 16 sounds like a lot. Do you have any other favorites on the album? Do you have any favorites on the album, or do you have any others that you want people to know about or to highlight right now?
Yeah, I love Milestones. That song I felt like was a really needed slash sensitive subject that a lot of people don't want to talk about. I think the world that we live in today, especially our country, is very much like career driven over family, over kids, over spouses, over whatever, which there's something wrong with that. But I was like on the other end of going like, okay, I love my career, but it's causing me to miss all these milestones. And maybe you don't have a music career, but I think it's a subject you can kind of relate with, of like, if we're not careful, our jobs are going to take away the most precious moments of our life. I think everyone can relate with that in a sense. And so I felt like it was a message that really needed to be talked about, and a reminder of what really matters in this life. And so that's one of my favorites. And then another one is Sinner's Prayer. I think Sinner's Prayer is a really interesting uh, song of just a way to kind of reach someone who maybe doesn't have faith, um, of just the real wrestle of faith, like in the world that we live in today, and like feeling like you mess up time and time again, and just like you're, so unworthy to come to God and ask for forgiveness, and you've done all these bad things, but that he comes, and he's standing there with arms wide open, and he's like, come bring it all to me. And so it's just a fun song to get to kind of figure out how to write it in a way that would really inspire the average listener that maybe doesn't have faith, um, for maybe a seed to be planted. So that's another one I love.
I love that. As you're talking here, I'm just curious. Do you have is one of your goals in your music to kind of step outside the Christian um, footprint, and introduce people who are only listening to country music to the gospel? I mean, is that one of your goals as well with your music?
Yeah, I feel very called, like with this specific record. I don't know what the next 10 years of my life look like, but with this record, I felt really called to just preach the gospel, point blank, share the truth. It is what it is. And so it's like there are a couple songs on the record that will be on country radio that maybe don't specifically talk about God, or like it's straight in your face, but that it's like a nod at it, that my goal is to for people to hear the song and then to want to know more. And because it's like I'm not gonna, I live for my faith, but I'm not gonna ever force it on people, because obviously that's not what I'm here to do. I'm here for people. I want people to have an authentic, um, I guess, response to it. And like I want them to have this moment of like a reaction to it almost, of their own faith, and maybe a different perspective than they've ever heard before. And so that was definitely a part of just this album, was like, how can we reach people? And it was like, well, we can reach more people by going into this world and writing songs that maybe aren't as faith-based. Because I think the average person who doesn't have faith is not going to want to listen to a song that has God in the title, because they've had a bad experience with the church, or they've been hurt, or maybe they were, abused in a Christian home, and they just have this horrible viewpoint of it. It's like coming to them in a way that they can understand and that they are not going to be immediately offended by, was definitely something that I really valued in this album.
Amen. Amen. And you'll be doing both country and Christian concerts or tours this year. Folks can get more information at your website. Ann Wilson, I forgot, Ann Wilson Music.
AnnWilsonOfficial.com. Yep.
And WilsonOfficial.com. One more question before I let you go. I saw on your Instagram that you participated in a digital fast at
Yeah.
at your church this year. I've never done that. Maybe I should. Tell us what that is, and what did you learn from it?
I will happily talk about the subject. No one, I love this. Last year I go to Church of the City in Tennessee, and you can watch it on YouTube if you're not local. Basically last year in April, my pastor decided to do a digital fast and with our church. And it was like, just the first time this has ever happened. Ended up being like a really big blessing. I haven't had social media on my phone in a year now. It's been like almost a year. And that was a day that forever changed my life. And I just finished 2022, 250 days gone, and then started Winter Jam in 2023. I was gone for 3 months straight, and I was at the end of my rope. I got an iPhone when I was 9, so I've always had a phone. Like literally, I've always had social media since I was 9, and it's just shaped me in the most horrible way and caused me so much anxiety. And so,
Oh,
my church was doing this digital fast, and I was like, you know what? I know I'm only 21, and this is like terrifying for me to not have social media, but I'm gonna just try it. And I did it, and I loved it. So my pastor actually wrote a book about it that you can get on like Amazon, I think, and or online, I guess, anywhere. And it's basically a guide to it, and it teaches you how to do it. But the moral of it is basically you make your phone into a dumb phone. So you take off Safari, email, Amazon, any purchasing app, you take off social media, so Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, everything. And you basically only, it's a utility phone. So it's phone call, text, FaceTime, calculator, maps, like the things that you need in life.
yeah.
You do it for a period of time, and you go through different like detachment, and then you'll feel like the need for the dopamine hit. And then once you get past that, it's so cool to just see the way that it's fascinating how like without your phone, life is just so much more beautiful, and you're so much more present in the moment. And I'm only 22, so like a lot of my friends look at me like I'm crazy for doing this, but it's like I'll check Instagram on my laptop like once every other day or something, so I'm still engaging, but I'm not like I don't have it on my phone, so it's not the constant like addiction and need to go check it. So with all that being said, you should go do it. I promise you, I think it would impact your life. I think the world really needs it. So he made a book about it that kind of helps guide. So
I think that's awesome, Ann. And yes, I need to do that. And many people who are watching and listening to this need to do that. I think we're as a culture going to reach a point where people are going to start doing that more and more, because I think there's so much negative. I think social media is having such a negative impact on young people and on old people, middle-aged people. And yeah, I think that's a great thing. And God bless you for doing that, and keep preaching that. That's
yeah,
you're changing people through your music, but we need to hear that message more and more.
yeah.
We've been speaking to Ann Wilson, who has a new album, Rebel, coming out April the 19th, and it's incredible, and I encourage people to check it out. Ann, thanks so much.
Yes, thanks for having me.